And we are live. This is Ring the Bell podcast number 21. I am here with my co host, Nathan. How are you, Nathan? It's been a little while.
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I am not bad, not bad. Enjoyed the boxing, enjoyed the World Cup. Obviously, England weren't going to fucking win the World Cup, let's all be real. But top four finish with a young team, it's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
No,
We can go forward from there. We can move on to the Euros, and the team will be more experienced. We might even get to the semi-finals of the Euros. That'd be good too. So yeah, not bad. Hope no one's beating up their girlfriend or cutting their wrists over it. England have got further than ever in my lifetime because I was born in '91. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. We're going to start today with the Brook versus Cook cancelled. I mean, this is a shame. I was looking forward to seeing Brook get back out. What are your thoughts on this one?
it's probably for the best, to be honest. I wasn't looking forward to the fight anyway. It's a load of rubbish.
Yeah, Brook Cook. I mean, who the fuck is Cook? I mean, we know a little bit about him, but no, not a lot. What was Kell Brook's injury? Do we know?
I don't have it.
Ankle. It says here in the sun, ankle. Ooh, shit.
Or was it? Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Anyway.
yeah. It seems it was Kell Brook out of that sidelines him until November. Yeah, he's going to be out for a little while, so it's definitely an injury and not a faker. Uh, he said it's the worst news ever for me. I put so much into this training camp. Cook had dozens of fans making the trip. Dozens, only dozens. Cook had dozens of fans making the trip over to see him fight as a huge underdog, but the dream
I
upset against the former champion has
spoke
now
to
been.
I spoke to Brandon Cook last week
Yeah, really?
and spoke to him. I was meant to interview him Friday, but I thought, well, nah, forget it.
Right. Isn't he still fighting Eubank?
No, Eubank is fighting somebody else. Eubank's come
Oh,
back to
so
her now.
Eubank's
Eubank's
signed with Hearn again, and he's on this card as the headline act. But who's he going to be fighting? Surely he should fight this Cook guy. I suppose Cook's too small.
Remember,
That's a
this is the what do you call it? This is the undercard fight that was on the Joseph Parker fight.
right. So it's not the main event. Right. Okay.
No, no, no. Sorry, I
That's
should have made that clear.
yeah. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So if Eubank's coming in to replace him, that's actually okay. But let's find out who the fuck he's fighting. It's going to be a nobody, isn't it? I mean,
I
how
think it
long?
has to be.
There's
It
only
has to be.
there's only
Last,
12 days. It's only 12 days out now.
but he
So
just needs a win, doesn't he? He
he
needs a win.
does need a
That's all.
comeback win, but at the same time, he's got to fight someone of decent standing. So, do you know who I would absolutely love to see him fight? There's no way because it is possible. Oh my God, I fucking hope this is the fight. John Ryder.
Yeah, that would be a great fight.
John Ryder, Eubank Jr. John Ryder's on some good form recently. Obviously, he had the loss to Rocky Fielding in
Yeah,
2017, but he beat Patrick Nielsen and he beat Jamie Cox. And I mean, he
yeah.
really fucking beat Jamie Cox. That was a good,
Did a
good
better job
win.
than George Grove. I think John
Did
Ryder
a
is a
s
dangerous fight for you, Dan.
I
I just
think
think it's too
so
dangerous
too.
for a comeback fight.
I actually
Would you
think
agree?
so too. Yes,
Too dangerous.
100%. Since he's moved up to super middleweight, I thought he was going to really struggle at 168. And when I
Hmm.
saw him against Rocky Fielding, I thought that was why he was going to struggle because Rocky Fielding is a big, big guy. But you know what? That was a split decision fight anyway. It was a close fight. But when he's fought the last two fights, especially the Jamie Cox fight, he's
Yeah,
starting to fill out into super middleweight and he looks good. So I tell you what, that would be if they can get that fight signed, that would be a mad fight.
I
John
don't
Ryder,
think Eubank
Eubank Jr.
wants it. At this stage, I
No,
think
I don't think he would
he's not
either.
ready.
No, I agree. Obviously, you could say Rocky Fielding, but it's just too short notice coming off his recent
Yeah,
win. Um, it's a problem. Maybe someone like oh, it's hard. It's real hard because it drops off quickly. You got some really good
James Taylor.
guys. and then it goes down. Yeah, but I
Too
would
short.
say yes, but 12 days notice for James DeHale,
He would
unless
take it,
it's
wouldn't
unless it's been in the works for a while. Because do you remember James DeHale said he had something big in the
he? Yeah.
background? Maybe they have already hashed it all out, and he's been in training camp. Who knows? Sometimes that happens. That would be a great fight. I don't think so though. I think that's a standalone pay-per-view, don't
But for
you?
me, I have to be honest, he just needs someone of a British level. That's it for the time
Yeah,
being, or low,
I think the
just to
John
get there.
Ryder fight. Do you know who else I would say? Who's the
Who's that?
geezer that is it Caleb Plant that James DeHale had the two fights with? Or was it no
Callum
Caleb
Truex.
Truex? Caleb
Oh,
Truex.
too dangerous. Too dangerous.
Really?
I think he'd beat Truex, but I just don't think it would be a good move right now.
Fair enough. I can understand that point. Let's move on to the next piece of news. Demetrius Andrade. He is fighting. No, sorry. Demetrius Andrade has signed with Matchroom on DAZN for the American branch of what Eddie Hearn is trying to do. Uh, yeah, it's very, very, very interesting situation actually because it actually plays into Billy Joe Saunders' situation because Andrade has been called the mandatory for Saunders' belt. The WBO gave Frank Warren and Faris, I think that's the manager of Andrade, maybe, a 10-day window for starting Thursday within which they could come to an agreement for a Saunders Andrade fight. The WBO stated it would order a purse bid if Warren and Faris couldn't reach a deal within 10 days. Hearn could bid on Saunders Andrade fight if Warren and Francis can't make a deal. So it isn't clear, however, if Andrade will pursue the fight against England's Saunders or face another opponent in this first fight of his matchroom deal. I
I
would
think
say if they can get the Billy Joe Saunders fight, they should because it's a good fight. But I
Billy's
think
better than him. I believe Billy's a better fighter than him.
oh
I
yeah,
really
Billy
do.
beats him, so they're not going to take the fight. But what they're going to do, this is what I've heard. Uh, Basically, they're going to try and win the purse bid and then put the fight somewhere shit so that Billy Joe Saunders won't want to take the fight and he'll have to give up the belt. Now, I'm not sure if he would give up the belt. I think he's a stubborn bastard. And if they put the fight on somewhere shit, he'll still take the fight and just fight there. Because Billy Joe Saunders isn't going to be fucked around by no man. So he'll just if Eddie Hearn tries to put the fight on in like Zimbabwe, I think Billy Joe Saunders would still go and do the fight. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Billy Joe Saunders is the kind of guy who's going to let Eddie Hearn fuck him around and strip his belt. So it's an interesting one. There's this whole interesting dynamic around it. What do you make of it, bro?
I just think it might be time for Billy to move up. To be honest, with all this nonsense going on, and Andrade is a good fighter, but his career's super welterweight, isn't he? I don't think he's going to do a great deal at middleweight.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. He's been a good fighter. He's had some okay wins. I mean, the likes of Brian Rose and some of his other wins, it's like he's not beaten the best level guys. And so I see him as sort of a B level fighter. I was talking to Stay Robinson. Shout out to Stay Robinson. Uh, just the other day about this, and we both agree he's sort of a B level fighter. He could give Billy Joe Saunders an interesting fight, but he'd lose. So really, he probably won't. Either they'll try and strip Billy Joe Saunders by
Yeah.
doing some crazy shit by putting the fight on somewhere crazy, and maybe not. You know, I don't know. But what I do know is I am interested to see Andrade's next fight. If it's not Billy Joe Saunders, who's he even going to fight at 160 pounds?
There's nobody left apart from Triple G or the Canelo one. That's the only people left.
Well, I mean, you got Danny Jacobs. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad fight, but wouldn't Andrade
Danny
lose to
Jacobs,
Danny Jacobs?
he would, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. So he's got a problem. Like he's got to pick lower opponents.
opposition.
Yeah, it's an odd one for me. He's
I
not a
think he'll
terrible
struggle to beat
fighter.
Brute. I think he'll struggle to beat him.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'd struggle. So let's have a little look at the 160 box rec. In fact, I'm gonna just give me
I
one
think he should have stayed at
second.
154. To be honest, not go up to 160.
Just gonna share because I haven't been doing this for the last few episodes, and I think what we need is a little screen share going on so we can check the 1600 160 division together. Uh, let's just type in a famous boxer, GGG. Oh, you can't search for him that way. Okay. Golovkin. Okay, we know Golovkin is a middleweight, so we can just go onto the middleweight rankings. See, Andrade is sixth, and Billy Joe Saunders is fifth, and Charlo is fourth, and Jacobs is third, and we know who the top two are. But obviously, have you seen that? This is something I don't know if you put it in our news articles, but
So
Danny Jacobs is signed to. Well, I don't know if the fight is signed, but I read an article somewhere that he's going to be fighting Sergei
that's
Derevanchenko.
correct. Yes, the IBF belt. Sorry, I forgot to put that in.
Yeah, I mean that is a fight and a half, man. That is a mega fight. This Derevyachenko guy is one of these Ukrainians who stayed in the amateur scene for a very long time. He did very well. The reason that they do stay in the amateurs so long, these guys, is because they actually get paid really well by the government to stay as an amateur boxer and win medals for the country. So it's quite interesting why some of these guys turn over so late. You kind of wonder if there's something to be said about that for Joe Joyce or some of these other guys, because in England it's starting to happen that people turn over later and later, and I'm not a fan of that trend, just as a side note. But point is, this is a mega fight. Danny Jacobs versus, we're going to call him Sergey because it's easier. Uh, who do you think wins this one, man? This is a tough fight to call.
Jacobs on the split decision.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. I tend to think this fight might go early. I think this Sergey guy, he's not really fought the level of Danny Jacobs in his pro career yet. Obviously, he's got a lot of pedigree as an amateur, but I think he might feel the snap of Danny Jacobs' punches earlier than he expects. Danny Jacobs throws them bombs. He really hits. He really does hit. So it's an interesting fight for me though, because there's every chance this Sergey Derevyanchenko, he's one of Eddie Hearn's guys, isn't he? From what
I
I
believe
know.
so. Just recently, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting Eddie Hearn's putting him in against Jacobs already. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he thinks because he's only 12 and 0, like a loss to Danny Jacobs now probably won't hurt him in the same way that Lomachenko's loss didn't hurt him
Well,
early on. So
loss for Danny Jacobs would be the end, really, wouldn't it? At
it
that
would,
weight.
especially to some 12 and 0 Ukrainian who no one's really heard of yet. It wouldn't be, we know him in the boxing community, but Sergey, I mean, most people can't even say his name, let alone have heard his name.
Derevyanchenko.
Derevyanchenko. It's not a bad name, but it's like that's a. I think people are going to call him Sergey. I have this feeling. I have this feeling. But yeah, it's interesting. So obviously, I think what's going to happen for Andrade is that they might get the Ryota Murata fight because that's a fight he could win. The 14 and 1 guy from
Yeah,
Japan. I think if they try and get him a fight like that, and then he could like defend against the likes of maybe a Lemieux, maybe a Willie Monroe Jr., Gary O'Sullivan. That's kind of where I see Andrade's level. Would you agree with that?
yeah.
He should not look for the. I mean, if he gets offered a big pay-per-view fight, if he somehow gets a title and then can get a big pay-per-view fight with Golovkin, Alvarez, or Billy Joe Saunders, then it's not a terrible idea, but he'll lose those fights. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Don't want to hate too much on Andrade, but I don't think it's Eddie Hearn's best signing. I think that's fair to
I just
say
think he just needs a name, a recognisable name.
on his record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that in many ways. Right, we have uh, to talk about the very next thing, which I believe you're going to enjoy talking about very much. The legend, the Italian stallion, who now resides in Germany, fighting out of Germany, Pianetta versus
Oh,
Tyson
God.
Fury.
Oh,
What a mega
dear.
fight,
Just
eh?
looking, just
What a
looking at
mega
the.
fight.
Oh, he got knocked out by Kevin Johnson. Oh, that's terrible.
It's great. Oh, it's great. It's the best fight I've heard of in the last 6 months, to be completely honest with you. Now, I
He
was
set us a third,
super
didn't
hyped.
he? The number two Albanian cruiserweight.
It's a step up, and that's
Hmm.
what everyone has to remember. I think we all know Pianetta would smash that Albanian midget. So Tyson Fury's stepping up right big style. No, I've got nothing good to say about this fight, really. Um, Tyson Fury promises to drop the boat antics and be all business. Now, this is interesting because the fight is taking place at Windsor Park,
Oh,
right?
Northern
Which
Ireland, yeah.
is
It's on the
which
undercard.
is an interesting place for him to go and fight. It's not a terrible place. We've seen big nights there, but the point is, really, are the Northern Irish gonna come out and fill Windsor Park for Pianetta Fury?
No,
I mean, maybe
but
they're that starved of good boxing over in Northern Ireland that they might.
no, but
But
remember, this is on the undercard of the Frampton card, right?
see, that makes so much sense.
So it's not like the main event. It
Yeah,
wouldn't sell.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think that will make a lot more sense then. It won't be too bad.
But to be fair, Tyson's comeback was always is always going to be like a year and a half to 2 year
We
journey,
knew
isn't it?
this. We knew this, but it is still funny to make a little bit of fun of it. There is something about Tyson Fury fighting these terrible heavyweights that is somewhat amusing because we just know like you can't lose to these guys. There's no fucking way. Pianetta was last seen losing on a unanimous decision to Peter Milas from Germany. Then
The same
he,
guy who knocked out Kevin Johnson, but forget he was knocked out by Kevin Johnson in 7 rounds.
yeah, yeah. It's quite an odd career for the old Francesco Pianetta. There was a
He built a
time
career where
when
he was
he was
highly.
having, yeah, when he fought Klitschko, he fought Oliver McCall, he fought
He
Matt
beat Matt
Skelton.
Skelton.
Yeah,
Look at his
yeah,
record.
yeah. Yeah, I'm going through it. Johan Duhaupas,
Did he beat him?
Alberts. Yeah, he won on unanimous
Oh,
decision.
did he?
Yeah, this is what I mean. So Pianetta at one point was not a bad heavyweight, but when he lost to Vladimir Klitschko on TKO in the sixth round, he's never really been the same since. He managed to get one more big title shot against Ruslan Chagayev. He lost that knockout in the first round, and that was the one that really, I think, you know, put put an end to him because ever since then he's fought nobodies, and then he lost to a washed up Kevin Johnson. So we're not
Mm.
looking at a world beater here at this point in his career. But at one point, he wasn't bad. He wasn't the worst heavyweight in the world. So for me, at least Tyson Fury's fighting a guy who's nearly the same size as him this time. At least he's actually a heavyweight. But yeah, he's still not even in the top 125 in the world. BoxRec has him at 139 out of 1,201. So we're not talking top level boxing here. We're really not. We're really not. But it's good to see Fury back, no doubt, no doubt. And like you say, because he's not the headline act, it's not so bad this time. Shall we move on to Liam Smith's fight?
Yeah.
Liam Smith is in a cracker of a fight, an absolute humdinger, as some older commentators may have said. I am very interested to see what happens in this fight because we do not really know a lot about this Jamie Munguia guy. We know he beat Saddam Ali. We know he's a very big 154 pounder, a very young
He's 19
fighter.
years old.
He's 21, but he's had
That's all right.
29 pro fights already. 21 with 29-0. It's quite crazy when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
He 2006. He turned pro at 17. Is that even legal?
In Mexico, they get away with it.
All right, okay, yeah, he is Mexican. You're right. So yeah, he turned pro at 17. So he must have always been a big 17-year-old and been able to manhandle fully grown men because that's a weird thing to do is start a pro career at 17. It often means that you're going to retire earlier. Look at Wayne Rooney, for example. He played from 16, and you're the same for Michael Owen. When you start so
Canelo
young,
started at 17 or
yeah,
16.
well, he'll be coming to the end of his career sooner than a Floyd Mayweather would.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about that because when you're taking hits when your brain isn't fully developed, that is not good.
Stupid, isn't it? Really?
It's not good for when you're older. I kind of think 18 is really 18, and there's
Say
also
20.
some. No, I think 18's fair because look at someone like Daniel Dubois, but you have to also trust that the trainer and the coach know their own athlete. So like Boy Jones Jr., you know how like
Well,
wily and small he is. You'd never
yeah.
let him fight a pro fight when he was 17. That would be
No.
it would be disastrous. So you kind of have to have some common sense with it. I'm sure Canelo and this Jamie Munguia could get away with it, but I also do think it probably has negative impacts on the end of your career and when you retire.
Mm.
Personally, I wouldn't let my son box a professional fight at 17. That's a bit wild. But other than that, it's a fascinating fight. It's really, I think, Mungia's biggest test so far. Like he's fought Saddam Ali, but Saddam Ali is not a real 154. Saddam Ali, we know, was the guy who was in the right time, at the right place at the right time to beat Cotto as Cotto was aging and on his way out of the sport. But really, he's not fought anyone else of any major note. He's fought Johnny Navarrete, who I've seen has fought a few, top guys, but he's not really a top guy himself. He's just kind of like a Mexican gatekeeper, journeyman sort of thing. And he's beat him twice in his career, actually, for some reason. And Jose Carlos Paz. So there's not really anyone on this guy's record. So I'm leaning towards Liam Smith, but it's still a tough fight because we just don't know anything about this Munguia guy.
I'm
Who are
going
you
to go
going?
for Munguia because I just think, I don't know. It's just something about him that I think he's got a good chance of winning.
Mm, I don't disagree with you. He has the right frame, body, and size. I just wonder if he kept every shot hit Saddam Ali with hurt, but Saddam Ali's tiny and Liam
But
Smith
he's
is
not
not.
he's welterweight, isn't he, really?
Yeah, and Liam Smith's not a welterweight. Liam Smith's like a
He's a middleweight.
middleweight who boils down, same as Jamie Munguia. They're both going to be big in the ring. So I think Munguia will be a bit bigger, probably a bit stronger. But is he the better boxer? We don't know really. So we'll have to find out. Not seen enough of his work to pick him, but it's a very close fight, I think, in general. Um, let's talk about my new favorite boxer, Razvan Kajanu, is fighting Luis Ortiz. Now, shout out to Kajanu. I actually have him added on Facebook. He accepted my invite a little while ago, and he's been training hard for this fight. I didn't know he had a fight. He'd just been posting loads of training clips, so I thought he was just like getting back in shape. But no, he's got a fight against the monster Luis Ortiz, King Kong himself. Obviously, Ortiz last seen suffering a quite brutal knockout to Wilder, but the first time he's been knocked out, his first, I think that was his first loss, wasn't it, Ortiz? He'd never lost before
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, he's still a top contender in the division. He's going to be looking to put the hurt on Razvan Kajanu. But I'm telling you now, I'm telling you right the fuck now, Razvan's got this. He's been training with Alex Leopai. He's been training with Vladimir Klitschko, and yeah, it's a surefire conclusion that Razvan Kajanu is gonna stop Luis Ortiz in the third round.
Oh, dear.
No, I'm kidding. Of course, I actually predict it the other way round.
There was something about Lewis Ortiz that Hatman did. He said that they were suspecting that as a joke, that Spencer Fearon said that the guy was 48 years old, his real age, saying apparently that he'd sparred with Lennox Lewis. I was thinking,
Well, I'll tell you a little story from Paul Smith that I cannot find anywhere anymore on the internet. I think it was on a interview with IFL that got taken down by IFL. But he said that he'd sparred. No, he fought Luis Ortiz in the amateurs, right?
what?
And just think about that. Paul Smith fought Luis Ortiz in the amateurs, and what did he say? He said like he was, but it was basically very, very weird story. I'll have to look it up and try and find more of it. But he was saying that Luis Ortiz is way older than he says he is. He fought him in the amateurs when Luis Ortiz wasn't a heavyweight sort of thing. You have to imagine like how long ago that was if
20 years ago.
if Paul Smith could have fought him at the same size, because they're nowhere near the same size now. So
What makes me laugh is Lewis Ortiz. Well, if he is 48, then he made Deontay Wilder look silly.
he is 48. He's he's probably 44 to 49. He's somewhere in that region from the
Shouldn't be fighting, really.
age Paul Smith puts on him. That's probably the truth, and we know it because he's slow as shit, for one thing. That's got to be said. And the Cuban guys don't get their documentation. So there's no way that anybody, like, people, he just told someone he was younger than he was. Because if he'd have
Just
said he was older, he wouldn't have got the same sort of contracts and money and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a common thing for fighters from Cuba to lie about their age.
he's still better than 80% of the heavyweights.
No doubt, it's a hilarious time to be alive. I would say that's true of Shannon Briggs as well. You could put Shannon Briggs in with most guys below the top 50, and he'd still knock most of them out.
Lewis Ortiz would kill Shannon Briggs.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But it'd be, I would love to see that fight. I have to say, it would be
I don't
fun.
know. I'd say I'd even pick Bellew to beat him. Seriously.
Bellew to beat Briggs.
Shannon Briggs, yeah. Too slow.
Too slow for sure, but the problem is when you're talking about Shannon Briggs, you know how many first round knockouts he has, right?
Yeah, but
it's the most in
if we're talking
history.
A Briggs of 20 years ago, then obviously, it's a different. He was a world class fighter back then, but obviously not now.
No, but he still has the most knockouts, first round knockouts in heavyweight boxing history. That is something to be said.
From a decade ago. He was good.
Yeah, but even all I'm saying is, right, it's a dangerous fight for a round. And that's
Yeah.
true. And because that's true, I wouldn't want to put Bellew in there because if he got knocked out by Briggs, it would be shameful.
You know what? I'd pick Briggs to lose to Belly based on
Sure,
what he's done.
I'd pick the same.
But Hay wouldn't have beaten Briggs, I don't think.
Hey, what in his
He would.
prime?
No, David Hay in his prime would have beaten Briggs. Yeah, now in his prime.
Yeah, I think David Hay versus Briggs now
Now
is
Briggs would
actually a
win.
pretty fair fight because one of them's super old and the other one's got no legs.
Injury prone, like an old man.
Yeah, so it's not a bad fight, but yeah, it's one of those ones, man. I have to say, I am not happy about Luis Ortiz and when he gets knocked out in the third round by Razvan Kajanu, and everyone comes crying to me because I told you Razvan Kajanu is the new Yakov Gospic. I told everybody now, you've all been warned. Don't come crying to me when you lose money betting on Luis Ortiz. Okay? Simple. Let's have a little chat about the action from the most recent weekend. Just gone. There was some good fights. Pac-Man versus Matisse. Did you see this one?
I did. It was a very one-sided.
It was. I predicted this one well wrong. I'll come out and admit it now. I thought Manny Pacquiao would have much less left, and I thought Matisse would have much more left than he did. And so it's one of those things where you can't be too sorry about getting that one wrong because Pacquiao looked like he was on his way down, whereas we hadn't seen Matisse in a while. But it's one of those fights, wasn't it? It was a great finish to the fight, but the fight itself was pretty dull, pretty predictable. It
Yeah,
settled into Pac-Man's favor very quickly. And I'm happy to see that he's got something left. But what I'm not happy about is now we're probably going to get fucking Pac-Man versus Terence Crawford. And no one really
not
wants to see that fight, do they?
not really, no.
Because we all know Terence Crawford is just, he's got too much in the tank, and Manny doesn't have the same reserves left that he used to. The speed isn't quite there. And so
He should have tonight.
he
No,
probably should. I think what he should do is go and have one last mega fight in the Philippines for all his home fans.
I'd like to see him fight Amir Khan. That would be a good fight.
That would be a great
He'd win.
fight. That'd be a great fight. I'm not sure he would win it, but it'd be a great fight. It would be a closer fight than any of the other fights out there for him. So I actually 100% agree. He should fight Amir Khan. They should probably try and do it in Manila because he's not really given his home Philippine fans the love they deserve over the years. They've given him a lot of love. He should probably go and give them one last final showing. Final showing. I think that would be the right thing to do. But he probably won't because he'll make more money fighting in America, but whatever. Fielding versus Zoiga.
Didn't see this coming.
I didn't see this coming either. This is another fight I'll happily cop to getting wrong. But I think Zoiga had a cold or a flu or
Yeah,
something. Because if you noticed in this fight, he gassed so
he
fast.
did.
He was out after 2 rounds, maybe. He was huffing and
Yeah.
puffing, and Rocky Fielding don't punch that hard. So I just
Rocky
don't.
Fielding's not a world-class fighter. Let's not get this twisted.
No.
Right.
But it was a good win. It was a good win.
Yeah.
All you've got to do is beat what's in front of you, and he did that. But I think Zoiga will come again, and I think he might have. I think what it will come out that he had a flu or a cold or something was very wrong because
Fielding
he.
shouldn't give him a rematch. Fielding should fight Chris Eubank Jr., I think.
It's not a
That
bad
would make
idea. It's not a bad idea. I think you're right, but at the same time, Sauerlands have got decent money these days. So if they can get that fight again in Germany and
I
pay
don't think I don't
Fielding
think
a
Rocky
shit.
to
I
be
don't
honest.
think he'd won it, but it's one of those weird ones, man. He
I think there's so many options for them. But if you're Callum Smith, you must be gutted that a guy you beating around, wouldn't you?
got a title before you. Yeah, I mean, it's lucky that it's
Then
only the WBA regular and that Smith's fighting for the Super WBA.
yeah,
So I think he won't care too much. But yeah, it is a bummer.
it must be bad for your morale.
A little bit, I think. Yeah, but I mean, he Smith already knows that he's been messed around by the governing
but,
bodies. So
but Rocky Fielding deserves it.
yeah, I can't argue. He's put together some good wins since his loss
He's had
to
a
Callum
weird
Smith.
career, hasn't he? Really, when you look at it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a proper Rocky Balboa story, isn't it?
In some ways, he's had an odd one because obviously put down early by Smith, beats John Ryder in one of his comeback
Beats
fights.
Christian Fabrizi by an inch of his life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some fights in there that, whew, they could have gone either way, really.
He,
Um,
to be honest, Rocky's not even in the top three British fighters, is he, in the super middleweight division or the top four?
no, you'd have to say it goes Groves, Smith, DeHale,
Eubank.
Eubank, Fielding.
Would you say Fielding is kind of like he's just above British level or just below European?
I would say it's both. I would say he's probably high European level. You could probably say he's just done very, very well for himself to get a world title.
He's not going to
That's
keep the belt long.
maybe. It
He gets
depends who they
smashed.
pick. Yeah, it depends who they pick to fight next. If they pick Eubank, I think he won't have the belt very long.
I think that would be he should cash out. Do you think, or have one defense and then cash out? But I think he'll lose before he gets to a big fight. You know,
Yeah, that's a very big possibility. I would say uh, don't rematch John Ryder. That was too close, and you'll probably lose because John Ryder's been on an up streak. Do not rematch Zoiga, as you say. Probably don't take the Eubank Junior fight, but then what does that
oh,
leave you
you
with?
get more money, wouldn't you? You get more money.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. If he can get a big share of a pay-per-view cut for a Eubank fight, then
yeah.
why not? Why not?
I think he should be on a pay per view. You know, like an Anthony Joshua pay per view or something.
Yeah, they can get him paid well. I tell you something that's really quite interesting to me that we're going to move on to now. The final two names have been added to the World Boxing Super Series 140-pound division. You sent me this article earlier. It is some good news, I think. I think it makes the tournament pretty mad. So they are Terry Flanagan, and I can't actually see who the other one is. Oh, Ryan Martin.
Yeah,
So I don't really know much about Ryan Martin, but what
he's
I
not
do
too.
know is the contest is lit. We got Prograis, Ivan Berichik, Kirill Relic, Anthony Yigit, Josh Taylor, Troyanovsky, Ryan Martin, Terry Flanagan.
Some weak names in there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's there are a lot of weak fighters in this eight-man tournament. I'd much rather have seen these eight fighters in the list. I'm just reading this from Boxing News. I'm sharing the screen. Lipnitz, Postal, Ramirez, Prograis, Martin, Taylor, Berichek, Kirill Relic. Hang on. They're saying this Ryan. They'd rather see Ryan Martin in there over Terry Flanagan. Who the fuck is this Ryan Martin guy?
I've heard of him.
Sounds like Ricky Martin's son.
I don't think Terry Flanagan should be in the tournament
Who the fuck is Ryan Martin? I think he should be. What's going on?
because he lost to Maurice Hooker. Maurice Hooker should be in.
He really didn't lose that fight, though. He
I know
really
he didn't.
didn't. I didn't feel like he lost that fight, and so I don't think it's too unfair to have him in the tournament. I agree
Shouldn't he?
Maurice Hooker would have been a good addition, but I'm telling you now, Terry Flanagan is better than Ryan Martin. I'm looking at this guy's record. He's beat Bradis Prescott recently, Luis Eduardo Flores. some guy called Francesco Rojo. No one. He's beaten no one. So in terms of who you'd rather see in there, I'd rather see Terry Flanagan than Ryan Martin. So I'm gonna have to take issue with the writer of this article. But yeah, I do think obviously it would have been good to still have, even though Postol lost to Josh Taylor, it wasn't a bad performance by Postol overall, and maybe seeing him in there over the likes of Anthony Yidgett or Troinovsky would have been good. I can understand that. I could
Chwanowski's a very weak name, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not the best. He's not the best. I don't think Ryan Martin's a very strong name either, though, to be honest with you. But
Progress is probably the favourite, Josh Taylor or Progress.
I think the favourite for the final will probably be Josh Taylor Prograis. And so
Progress, I'd to say I don't know, very close.
I think Josh Taylor whacks him out of there in about 6 rounds. I think Josh Taylor's just honestly like people don't like to get too hyped about British talents. We like
He's
to
very
be
good.
we like to be a little bit down on ourselves. But I don't think he knocks Prograis out, but I think he probably does a similar job on him that he did to Postol. I think Prograis would struggle with Postol a lot more than Taylor did. I think
I'm
that's
glad
fair
that
to
Harry
say.
Davis did enter.
Well, I mean, if we're putting in fucking Troyanovsky and Ryan Martin, we could probably get away with O'Hara Davis, but it would have pissed off
Yeah,
some fans for
big shit,
sure, for
really.
sure. Uh, this is really crazy though because Prograis. This is why they're having some real fucking struggles to get US people to enter it because Prograis won't be a star in the US if he wins the WBSS tournament because the fights aren't televised in the US. You have to subscribe to DAZN to get the
Really.
fights, and
But
so
he's an emerging fighter who will be elite level one day, I believe, or world class.
he is probably a very, very good fighter. I don't rate him badly. I just haven't quite seen enough of him to say that he easily beats Josh. I've seen more of Josh Taylor, so obviously I'm biased. But I think Josh Taylor might have the beating of him at this point in their careers. Maybe later down the line, not so much. Who knows? Who knows? Um, you had sent me one other thing to look at. O'Hara Davis trolling Ashley Theophane. I didn't actually see that.
Yeah.
What did he do?
Basically, he's calling him a bum and everything. I thought, he's a 37-year-old man who's towards the end of his career. He doesn't need to mention this guy, really, I don't think.
No, but I tell you what, it's not a bad fight. O'Hara Davis, Ashley Theophane. It's not a bad step up fight for Davis in his comeback. So I'm interested in the fight, but I'm not interested in the beef. There's no real beef between those two. That's
Guy who
just
O'Hara will reach a higher level than this guy.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But there's no real beef there. O'Hara's just starting it for show, isn't he?
And
That's
and plus, Theo Payne's moved up to super welterweight now, so it makes no
oh, so
sense.
it's not even a fight that can happen. That's
No,
crazy.
not really.
That's crazy. Uh, I see you've also listed that Zach Parker had a fight on the Zoiga card. Now, I can't find that fight anywhere. Did you manage to see that?
No, I didn't manage to see it.
Ah, I heard he won
He
it
won the.
convincingly. Yeah, I was listening to this German guy who does a boxing podcast. I'll try and find it again later and send you the link. It was not bad. He goes to the shows in Germany and then he sort of reports on the undercards that aren't always televised. And so he said
Mm.
Zach Parker won it very convincingly, very controlled fashion. Good performance, like didn't put a foot wrong really. So it's interesting. I hope we get to see his next fight though, because it does, pisses me off a bit when can't even get the televised fights. Can't even get them on replay. Come on, it's 2018. Everyone's got cameras and camera phones, and someone should be filming that shit for posterity. Uh, the other thing we wanted to talk about today, and it's an interesting Interesting little fight. Quite an interesting one. Is Reggie Prograis won a fight, didn't he, over the weekend? I didn't actually see this fight yet, but he punished
No,
Juan
it was
Velasco for
WBC title defense or interim order.
yeah. I'll just I'm just bringing up the highlights here, and oh, he was knocking him down all over the place. So
How many
yeah,
rounds did it last?
not many. Let me check. Let me check that for you. He beat him up in 8 rounds, but he knocked him down a couple of times, I believe. Reggie Prograis is the future. Prograis did his thing, but he got hit way too much. Yeah, the comments are saying, because he tries to entertain and be an entertaining fighter, sometimes he uh, puts his hands down and doesn't concentrate on his defense.
Was that against Josh Taylor to get wiped out?
Exactly. They better keep Prograis away from Crawford, and they better keep him away from Mikey Garcia. Prograis is way too flat-footed and way too stationary, and as Crawford noted, he gets hit way too much. Yeah, I think Josh Taylor's
But he
a good
should be the
fighter,
favourite
but
for
I
the
don't know
tournament.
if he wants the Josh Taylor work. Yeah, a lot of people in the comments. Sorry, what were you saying there?
That Josh Taylor is the favourite on paper, but favourites and things
Yeah,
can
of
go wrong.
course, but I don't think he was the favourite on paper. But now that I'm reading these comments, a lot of people seem to be saying Josh Taylor's too much for this kid. So
This
we're gonna
this
find out.
tournament will fast track Josh Taylor
And
maybe
Prograis,
2 years
yeah.
forward in his career.
Whoever, yeah. I mean, he's already going so fast. We
But
got to be honest
some
with
would
that.
say he's going a little bit too fast. Maybe I'd say in some regards.
Maybe it could be said, but as long as he keeps winning, it don't really matter. That's the
But if
main
he,
thing.
I always thought he would have been ready for. I mean, he's ready for the tournament, but I just sort of thought the McGregans would have said, right, have one more fight similar to Postal, then have a slightly better fight, and then fight for world title. I'm surprised they're going this route. Really,
I
I suppose
like
it's
it.
quick.
I like it, man. Especially if he gets Troyanovsky or that Ricky Martin guy, Ryan Martin. If he gets him
Yeah.
in the first round, that's easy enough. And then he'll move on to maybe Terry Flanagan or Kirill Relic, and he can probably win that fight. And then in the final, he'll probably face Prograis, or Terry Flanagan. Depends how the draw is seeded. But I think it's a good decision to put him in there. I think he's going to win that tournament. I just have this feeling that he every time he steps in the ring, he does not look like he's going to be denied. He's just got this concentration and force of will that you don't see in every fighter. Sometimes you see guys for 30 seconds in a round, you'll see
Yeah.
it. They look scared. And for 30 seconds in a round, you'll see their drive and their determination. And for 30 seconds in the round, you'll see them trying to think what to do next. But with Taylor, you don't really see that. You just see a guy, a bit like Lomachenko, who knows exactly what he wants to do next. So I don't really fear for him very much. Um, that's kind of
But
how
you
I
thought
how
it's
I see that.
Postal in his 12th fight.
That's what I mean. That's
That's
why
good.
I don't really have a lot of fear for him anymore. Like he's kind of you can let the reins go now. You can just let
You
him
could put him
fight.
in there with Matisse, and he would wipe the floor with him.
I think so. I think there's a lot of guys he would beat. I think he's probably gonna become the number one of that division. I just have this feeling.
How
But
many belts
let's
are on the line in this tournament?
That's a good question.
So I forget.
140 pound
Press is the
WBSS.
interim, and then I
Final
think that
two
might
names added. So, Kirill Relic has a belt, right?
WBA. Super.
Josh Taylor doesn't have a belt.
Progress has an interim belt, which doesn't really count.
But Progress and Baracek are fighting for the He's got the IBF now, doesn't
Oh, right.
he? Prograis has been ordered to fight someone called Ivan Baranchek, and that has to be the first fight of the tournament, and that's for the vacant IBF. So that's on the line, and that's it. I think. I don't think anyone else has got one.
I wish we'd got some bigger names in this tournament, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean this one's not the standout tournament really.
Indongo would have been better name than Trinovsky.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that could have replaced a few guys. I think Jose Ramirez, Sergei Lipnets,
Decent fighter.
uh, those guys would have been good in there too. But what can you do? What can you do? We know that the super bantamweight's pretty lit. We also know that the next tournament they're announcing a third weight class very soon, so let's hope that's lit too.
Shall we quickly, briefly touch on the bantamweight one, which is, I'll tell you what, that's really good. That tournament.
Yes.
You've got the top fighters. You've got Inoue, you've got Tete, you've got Burnett, all the top fighters.
Yes, every belt. Basically, I can't think of a belt that's missing.
And then next week it's the cruiserweight final, which
I
all the
don't
four
know
belts.
who's this Jason Maloney guy.
No idea.
27-year-old Australian. Never heard of this guy. 17-0. He's beaten some okay names. Well, not really. But I suppose you've always got to have one guy that isn't well known. The rest of them, they're all beasts. You got Payano, Donaire, Maloney, Tete, Burnett, Rodriguez, Inoue. It's a great list of fighters for that tournament. It's probably the best tournament that they'll do. It's going to be the closest to cool. But I do think at the moment it's between Tete and Inoue.
I'd pick
Inoue's a,
Inoue based on
Inoue's
what
a
I saw.
monster, but Tete is as strong as Inoue, but 6 inches taller.
Oh, Jesus. Doesn't mean anything,
So
does it? Or against McDonald.
yeah, but McDonald's not. It's not really the same thing though, because Tete is the
He's an elite
same
fighter.
sort of monster that Inoue is, but just a bigger version. McDonald's are just a different kind of fighter. He's a boxer mover, and it didn't work out for him that style against Inoue. I think Tete Inoue is a great fight. Let's hope that's the final. I want to see that fight for sure, for sure. So yeah, interesting times ahead for the World Boxing Super Series. Very
There's one more
successful.
fight to talk about.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
cruiserweight final, I believe. I've sent it to you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was moving on to. That was my transition. This is a massive fight, probably the biggest fight of the summer. There's even some good undercards, not the best undercards, but not bad. We got Cecilia Burkhouse, 33-0, fighting a 7-0 Russian woman for all of the belts, literally all of the belts, the IBF, the IBO, the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO. So that's interesting. We got Mahmoud Madiev versus Marcelo Fabian Caceres. No idea who either of those fellas are. Andrei Sirikin versus Vladimir Shishkin. That's an interesting fight. I know a little bit about the 15-0 super middleweight Sirikin. It's hard to, I'm just going to call him Andre. And then Fedor Chudanov is fighting Najib Mohammadi. That's not a bad fight for the WBO International Super Middleweight title. And we come to the main event, the settler, the decider, the finisher to the cruiserweight divisions WBSS for the IBF, the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO World Cruiserweight Championships. Murat
Usyk's got
Gassiev
Usyk
versus
will win this
Usyk.
season.
it's a close fight. I don't think it's so easy. I would have thought it was a really easy fight before the tournament. I would have picked Usyk, but after seeing what
Well,
Gassiev did and how Usyk struggled and didn't really knock anybody out with emphatic, he didn't. He had one knockout, I think, but he didn't look as good as I thought he could have done in this tournament. And it's made me think it's closer than what I expected. I agree with you. Usyk's got it, but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight. I think this
I
could be a
think
split
Usyk
decision.
trains himself to get to cruiserweight. Seriously, when
He
you look at the
does.
size,
Yeah,
I
he's
think
so big. Yeah, I agree. I think he takes something out of himself the same way Callum Smith does when he makes 168. I agree with that for sure. Um, but I think it's going to be a close fight. I think we're going to see a split decision. I think Usyk takes it, but narrow, 2 or 3 rounds, not by a lot.
he definitely has to move up after this. Then
Probably.
Usyk.
I think so. I think we're going to see a lot of that. So obviously, I think Smith and Groves will probably move up to 175 as well, and then you're going to see Usyk and maybe even the likes of maybe Gassiev and maybe even Dorticus move up to heavyweight as well. So it's
Huck's
very
moved up to
interesting.
heavyweight.
What?
Huck's moved up to heavyweight. I don't know
Yeah,
why,
yeah, yeah.
but
Well, more money. The thing about being a heavyweight is being a heavyweight journeyman is more profitable than being a successful cruiserweight.
it's weird, isn't it?
If Huck somehow manages to get a title defense against Wilder or against AJ or someone like that, he gets paid stupid big money just to lose.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why these cruiserweights at the end
You
of
would
their
pick him to beat
career.
Sharp.
Yeah,
You,
sure. Good fight though. Be a good fight. So we have covered nearly everything, I believe. Obviously, next weekend is the Liam Smith Munguia, Gassiev Usyk. We've talked about all
yeah.
of those. However, the weekend following, we have two good fights on the 28th. We have the Dillian White Joseph Parker card and the
Are
Mikey
we probably going to
Garcia
show next, or
Robert
are
Easter
we?
Jr. card. I think we'll probably do a show. We'll want to talk about the Usyk Gassiev fight, right? And
Okay.
we can make
It'll
our
be a short show
predictions.
next week, though.
Yeah, probably, but we'll make our predictions for Garcia, Robert Easter Jr., and White Parker. And yeah, we'll do all of that good stuff in the following week. So, what I will say to everybody now, unless you had some final thoughts you wanted to get out,
The only
is
thing I wanted to add is: has anybody heard from BG? Because he seems to have disappeared.
I'm not sure. I see him online occasionally, and so I don't really know. I don't
The
like
reason
to.
I ask is because I run I run a Facebook group of boxing gossipers.
Yeah, yeah,
People have been messaging the show and asking what's going on. I'm like, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, you should ask him, I suppose. I will send him a message very soon. I'll send him one today, asking him
I'd like to
how he
see because
is,
people get
how it's
because basically
getting.
the reason I ask is because people are getting worried, so I can give people a statement saying
Yeah,
I'm back
yeah,
to
yeah. Yeah, I'll send him a message. You should probably do the same. Maybe he's even watching this podcast. I doubt it, but if he
Mate, I
is,
don't think he watches us to be honest.
no, I don't
I'll be
think
okay.
so too. But if he is, he can send us a message or we'll contact him. I'm sure he's all right. I'm sure he's probably got a lot of people hassling him though, and I know what it's like sometimes when you just want to take a month or
He's
two
become very
months.
successful, hasn't he? In a short space of time.
Sure, and maybe it's maybe he has a new girlfriend who's not so keen
I
on
think he
him
does. Yeah, he's
speaking.
moved. He's moved. I believe so. He's all right. I believe.
Yeah, I think he's probably fine. I
But
just
anyway, we look forward to next week's action with the fights.
yes, cruiserweight champion unified for the first time in how many years there was an advert on IFL TV that kept saying, "Oh no, it's for the first time ever in the cruiserweight division, all four
No,
titles."
that's not true. No, no. Oh no, sorry. What's his name? Not one of before the WBA came out. It was Evander Holyfield unified all three belts before it was
Yeah,
four.
yeah, but this one,
And then David Haye.
the advert said it's the first time all four belts have
So
been.
unified. David Haye was unified,
Yeah, yeah.
but obviously the last proper undisputed champion was Evander Holyfield.
Right,
But
right, right, right.
if that makes any sense.
It does, but it is still confusing.
But because this will be the first time with four belts, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
crazy, crazy,
strange.
crazy fuckers. Soon it will be the first time it's been done with five belts, and it will be the IBO, and no
It's an
one will
IBO belt
care.
on the line this one, or not? No, it's not, is it?
No, no, it's not actually. Interestingly enough. But okay, man, peace out to all the fans. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the content. Leave a comment if you disagree with anything we said. Subscribe to the channel if you want to watch more. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Bye.
See you